Margayatam
Iha
Viha
Yoga
Yoga
Margai
Margai
Dhyana
Dhyanam
Aspadam
Aspadam
Bahu
Bahu
Matam
Pratam
Nayana
Nayana
Abhiramam
Aviramam
Homsnam
Omsam
Vapu
Apu
Darshayanam
Darshayana
Ananya
Ananya
Siddhai
Siddhai
Opatikai
Utpatikai Utpatikai
Samagranan
Magranam
Yutam
Yutam
Ashtabhogai
Ashtagogai
Pumsam Gatim Mrigayatamiha Yoga Margir
Pumsam Gatim Ragayatam Miha Yoga Margaya
Dhyanaspadam Bahumatam Nayanabhiramam
Jnanaspadam Bahumatam Nayanabhiramam
Pumsnam Vapur Darshayanam Pumsnan Vapur Darshayanam Ananya Siddhir
Om Sam Vapur Darshan Jnanam Ananya Siddhar
Otpatakai Samagranan Yutam Ashtabhogai
Odpadikai Samagrana Yutam Ashtabhokai
Pumsam Gatim Mrigayatamiha Yoga Margir
Om Sam Gati Gayatam Yoga Margar
Dhyanaspadaṁ bahumatam nayanabhiramam
Dhyanaspadam Mahumatam Nayanabhiramam
Pumsnam vapurdarshayanam ananyasiddhir
Pangsam Vapurdashayanam Ananyasthir
Otpatakai samagrinan yutamashtabhogai
Utpatrekai Samagranam Yutamashtabhokai
Om Sham gatim mrigayatam yoga margir
Utsangatim Margayatam Miha Yoga Margair
Dhyanaspadaṁ bahumatam nayanabhiramam
Yanasvaram Mahumatam Nayanabhiramam
Om Shnam Vapur Darshayanam Ananya Siddhir
Pangsam Vapurdarshayanam Ananyasiddhir
Otpatikai Samagrinan Yutam Ashtabhogai
Utpatrekai Samagranam Yutamashtabhokai Pumsam Gatim Margayatam Miha Yoga Margair Pumsam
Om
Gatim
Nityam Gayatam Yoga Margir
Jnanaspadam Bahumatam Nayanabhiramam Jnanaspadam Bahumatam Nayanabhiramam Nam Vapurdashayanam Ananyasiddhair Om Om
Nam Vapur Dashayanam Ananya Siddhai
Outpattikais Samagranam Yatam Ashtabhoghaihi
Otpatikai
Outpattikai
Samagrinan Yutam Ashtabhogai
Ashtabhoghai Pumsam Gatim Rigayatam Iha Yoga Margair Pumsam Gatim Rigayatam Iha Yoga Margair Dhyanasparam Bahumatam Nayanabhiramam
Dhyanaspadam
Padam
Bahumatam
Bahumatam
Nayanabhiramam
Nayanabhiramam Om Snam Vapur Darshayanam Ananya Siddhair Om Snam
Ausnam
Vapur Darshayanam
Vapurtashayanam Ananya
Siddhair
Siddhai
Otpatikai Samagrana Yutam Ashtabhogai Outpatikai
Outpatikai
Samagranan
Samagrinan
Yutam
Yutamashtabhogai
Ashtabhogai
Pumsam Gatim Rigayatam Iha Yoga Magai
Om
Pumsam
Sam
Gatim
Gatim Vargavatam Miha Yoga Margair
Jnanaspadam Bahumatam Nayanabhiramam
Jnana Sadham Bahumatam Nayanabhiramam
Paumsnam Vapurtashayanam Ananya Siddhai
Om Sam Vapurdashayanam Ananyasiddhair
औत्पत्तिकै समग्रिणन्युतमष्टभोगैः
Pattika samakarananyutamashtabhogaihi.
Okay. Pumsam
Pumsam
of those persons.
of those
Those
persons.
persons.
Gatim
Gatim
liberation.
liberation.
Rigayatam
Rigayatam
who are searching
Who are searching. Yeah.
here in this world.
Here in this world.
Yoga Margai
Yoga Margai
process of Ashtanga Yoga.
by the process of Ashtanga.
Jnana
Jnana
Aspadam
Aspadam
object of meditation.
object of meditation.
Bahu
Bahu
by the great yogis.
by the great yoga.
Tam
Prove.
Nayana
Nayana
eyes.
eyes.
Abhiramam
Abhiram
Pleasing.
pleasing.
Snam
Pumsnam
human
Human.
Vapu
form.
form.
Darshanam
Nishayanam
display.
That is
Ananya
Ananya
not by others.
not
not
by
by
others.
others.
Siddhai
Siddhai
perfected.
Perfect.
Tekai
Outpattikai
eternally present.
eternally present.
Samagrinan
Samagranam
praised.
please.
Yutam
Yutam
the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
Supreme
Supreme
Personality
Personality
of
of
God
Godhead.
who is endowed
who is
Who is
endowed
endowed
Shabhogai,
Ashtabhogai
with 8 kinds of achievement.
with
with
8
kinds of achievement.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is the form of the Lord which is meditated upon by the followers of the yoga process, and it is pleasing to the yogis in meditation. It is not imaginary but factual. As proved by great yogis, the Lord is full in 8 kinds of achievement, but for others these achievements are not possible in full perfection. So now we're continuing the purport from the last paragraph. He said the last paragraph. Yoga necessitates controlling the senses, and Bhakti Yoga or Krishna consciousness is the process of purifying the senses. When the senses are purified, they are automatically controlled. One cannot stop the activities of the senses by artificial means, but if one purifies the senses by engaging in the service of the Lord, the senses not only can be controlled from rubbish engagement, but can be engaged in the Lord's transcendental service, as aspired to by the 4 sages Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana, and Sanat Kumara. Krishna consciousness is not, therefore, a manufactured concoction of the speculative mind. It is the process enjoined in Bhagavad Gita, Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Om Jnana Timrandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishnam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mayam Dadati Swapanantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutav Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Kruna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hadipye Panchakalpa Tirubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna Bhutale Srimate Dhanavir Goswami Tinamine Namo Nitya Padaya Krishna Krishna Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paschatya Listarine. So the senses that we have are contaminated because they're always engaged in sense gratification from time immemorial. This life, last life, all different lifetimes. So Krishna therefore says in the Bhagavad Gita, the verse Srila Prabhupada mentions is chapter 9, text 34, engage your mind, or here, Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mam evaisyasi yuktaivam atmanam matprayanaha. Krishna more or less says this twice, pretty similarly, in the Bhagavad Gita. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee, offer obeisances to me, and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. So in this way, one can get free from this state that we're in of having these contaminated senses. One's senses and mind, which is also a subtle sense, can be purified by being always engaged in the service of the Lord. So Krishna says, always think of me. He doesn't say sometimes think of me and sometimes think of some nonsense material thing. He says, become my devotee. So that means you're fully sold out to Krishna. You're engaging in the instructions that his representative is giving you 100%. He says, offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. So it means all in for Krishna. And that way one can become purified. I'm trying to go back to the verse we were on, those 3:15, 46. I don't know all the shortcuts on this pocket Vedas. Okay. Is this it? Or was it 3:15:45? Okay, got it. So, as Srila Prabhupada was saying in the purport, yoga necessitates controlling the senses. It's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, there's one statement where it's saying that one should chant Hare Krishna, but then Srila Prabhupada says, over and above this, one should control the senses. So, one should chant Hare Krishna, all these things that we know are the most important things to do, chanting Hare Krishna, all this, but above this, one should control the senses. Because if the senses aren't controlled, then how will they chant Hare Krishna? How will they practice Krishna consciousness? The senses will drag someone to hell. We were talking about it yesterday, how the father of Prahlad Maharaj, Hiranyakashipu, because of his great austerities that he performed and the benediction that he was subsequently given by Brahma, his senses were unlimited, not unlimitedly powerful, but almost unlimitedly powerful. He doesn't get tired. He doesn't get hungover. He's never drained or exhausted. His senses are just always strong, like anything. He doesn't get old or diseased or whatever. So, almost unlimited sense power. And he was so angry. He asked Prahlad Maharaj, "How are you so happy?" He's asking him, where do you get this confidence from that you can say these things to me, and how are you so happy? And Prahlad Maharaj tells him he's getting it from the same place that Hiranyakashipu is getting it from Krishna. But he wasn't happy himself. Prahlad Maharaj was happy, and he's very simple. He's living a pretty simple life. But Hiranyakashipu, even though his senses have so much power, he can do whatever he wants with them, he's not happy at all. He's extremely frustrated. So it's such a precarious position because the senses are described, they're like serpents. So they're just going to drag the living entity along. Sometimes they're described as foxes, serpents, all sorts of envious creatures that can attack you at any moment. So in the same way, the senses, if they're not controlled, they can attack us at any moment. Because we're doing our thing, minding our own business. Maybe we've got some plan to do something that's not terrible, and then the senses kick in and they're like, no, do something that's exactly the opposite of what's good for you or good for anybody else. So the senses have to be controlled. They're materially contaminated. Let's see. Atav Shri Krishna Namadi Nabhaved Grayam Indriyai Sevon Mukehi Jivado Swayam Evas Pratyada. The materially contaminated senses can never be Krishna conscious. They can never understand Krishna, see Krishna, know who is Krishna, any of these things. But for one who engages in Krishna's service, which actually begins with using your senses, jivado, begins with the tongue, then Krishna might agree to reveal himself to that devotee. So the senses are materially contaminated, and it's been that way since time immemorial. So they're automatically set up to drag us. They're like, people always say the mind is a non-devotee. So it's like that. The senses, the mind, they're set up for the last couple millions of years to automatically start dragging us away to the wrong thing, to get us absorbed in matter, and in trying to control matter, try to enjoy matter. But as a spiritual being, part and parcel of the Supreme Spirit, Krishna, um, what is it? Mamaivam Sho Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana,
Manah Prakriti.
No, Shastindriyani.
Sindriyani,
Indriyani, Prakritistani,
Karshati. So the living entities, being spiritual, being of the same quality of Krishna in a different quantity, they're not going to be satisfied by matter. Krishna is not satisfied by matter. The living entities aren't going to be satisfied by matter, trying to enjoy it, because they're not the enjoyers. Matter is a completely different thing. How's a soul going to enjoy matter? What's a soul have to, like, people are enamored by sex life. But what is if I'm not the body, then what is the use? You know, we understand that in Krishna consciousness, people can have children to make them Krishna conscious. That's fired up. But other than that, what is a spirit soul, it's made of eternity, knowledge, and bliss, have to do with, you know, some bodies moving around? How is that going to bring any happiness to the soul? How is that going to be a productive use of time? Or any kind of material enjoyment? What does that actually have to do with the actual person, that soul, who is the same in quality as Krishna? They're a spiritual being. So anything from this material world, it's completely useless if it's not engaged in Krishna's service. And trying to enjoy it separate from Krishna is even more useless, because one stays here longer, the senses become more contaminated, and they become more bewildered. Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that for those who are overly attached to material enjoyment and sense gratification, the resolute determination for devotional service never takes place. So as long as the senses are absorbed in trying to enjoy the material world, then there's no chance of being Krishna conscious, which means staying here in another body, in another womb, and wasting time. But by engaging in Krishna consciousness, the senses can be purified. Srila Prabhupada was explaining in the purport that, this same point, that by engaging in the Lord's transcendental service, the senses can become controlled, they can become purified, just like we see with the four Kumaras, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana, and Sanakumara. They were engaging in the Lord's service in some way in Vaikuntha, and they immediately became pure devotees, actually, which means there's no more hankering and lamenting, lust, anger, greed, all of these things that get in the way of the conditioned soul's progress back to Godhead. It's not there anymore. They became pure devotees. So like that, they became completely purified by engaging in the Lord's service. And we know how to engage in the Lord's service by what's coming down in parampara. So by following the instructions of the spiritual master, then we can become purified. We can get out of this precarious position. Yasya deve prabhaktir yata deve tatagaro tasyate katita hyarta prakashante mahatmanaha. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all the imports of the Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. So it's a perfect situation. If one somehow or other comes in contact with the bona fide spiritual master, if they can just listen to what is emanating from the lotus mouth of the spiritual master, and just make those words, their blueprint, just one with their heart, or it's just their life. Okay, what the spiritual master is saying, that's what has to be done now. Then they can make progress back home, back to God. The whole thing becomes solved. But again, that begins with controlling the senses. If the senses aren't controlled, then you might hear all the instructions that you want day in and day out for many lifetimes. But still, if the senses aren't controlled, they'll drag you away from that, and you won't be able to, do anything. What can anyone accomplish without controlling the senses? There's never been one. My Guru Maharaj has this book, The Brain Game. It was originally going to be called Brain Drain, because it's speaking about how it's speaking about brahmacharya and celibacy, and how if the semen in the body is not wasted, it actually goes upwards, and like it like nourishes the brain more or less, or maintains the brain and the nervous system. It's like one of the key things for maintaining the brain and the nervous system. But then if it's wasted, then it's drained out, and so it's a brain drain. So in this brain gain book, there's one doctor who was being interviewed about the importance of celibacy, and he was mentioning how there's never been, actually no, it might not be that, but it might just be in Brahmacharya and Krishna consciousness. Anyways, this statement is there in different places that there's never been anyone who's done anything in history, in the history of the world, who hasn't practiced celibacy to some degree. So we can see the importance of controlling the senses. Srila Prabhupada was saying that if in whatever religious tradition is there, if there's some concept or principle of celibacy, then they're doing something right. He would give them credit at least for that, even if other things they say are off. If there's some idea of celibacy, controlling the senses like that, then there's something right they're doing. But we see in modern society, there's no idea of this. So the idea of celibacy or controlling the senses or any of these things seems completely alien and completely foreign. It's a whole society set up literally just to teach people that they are animals, and then everyone acts like animals and encourages everyone else to act like animals. We were talking about the other day that the main movies that are sold for children to watch and for families to see together are all about animals, and like they just sing songs about how you're an animal. There's like the Lion King, and they sing. What was don't they sing one in the Lion King about how you're an animal, more or less? There's the Hakuna Matata.
No, me no worries for the rest of your day.
Yeah, it's our problem-free philosophy.
But then in the Jungle Book,
just be an animal.
Bare necessities.
Yeah, it's our bare necessities in the Jungle Book. Just eat, sleep, mate, and defend. All these movies, they're like the main movies. This is where people get all their education from. It's just animals, and the animals are calling you an animal and telling you that's like how life is meant to be. It's so bogus. So it's an animal society, as Srila Prabhupada has clearly pointed out so many times. But the eyes want to see something, the ears want to hear something. So instead of hearing all these animal movies and the animal talks going on in society and their animal images and this whole animal life, instead of perceiving that, people can perceive with the ears and the eyes the Shastra, which is related to Krishna, and in that way they'll become purified. Actually, Chanakya Pandit, he says, Shlokena va tad ardena tad ardaksharena va avandyam divisam kuryad dana dhyayana karma bihi. One should, or not one should, he just says it, just as an instruction. He says, learn one shloka daily, otherwise learn half of it, one line of it, or even half a syllable of it. Let not one day pass without study, an act of charity, or other pious activity. So that's nice. That's really simple.
That's practical.
But no one's doing that. What to speak of learning a shloka daily or a syllable? People don't know what a shloka is. But he says, don't let one day pass without study. People are studying, but useless things. That's a fact. Someone gets their whole PhD on what's the digestive system of a blade of grass. They spend their whole life studying a blade of grass instead of knowing who the grass comes from. But he says, let nothing pass without an act of charity or other pious activity. In the life of the karmis and those whose senses aren't controlled, even devotees whose senses aren't, devotees meaning like they practice for some time, and now maybe sometimes they wear tilak or wear some sort of devotional clothes, and they have Prabhupada's books in their home. But if their senses aren't controlled, even in their lives, sometimes there's not a day of pious activity, but especially in the karmis. In the karmis' life, there's not a single day of pious activity. It's sinful actions from the time they wake up is sinful, what they're eating is sinful. Everything, it's horrible. But also for those who practice sometime but then fail to control the senses, we see their days also start to become void of any pious activity, act of charity. Yeah, Prabhu, can you please take the Bhagavatam? No. Prabhu, can you take one book? No. Prabhu, can you just give a small donation, even $1? No. And he's got tilak and neck beads and everything going on. Actually, I'm great devotee, but I will not give you a penny. So Not a day passes actually where there's any active charity. There's definitely not studying. They say, Prabhu, I have so many books. I don't read any of the books. I'm doing an Indian accent because that's who I hear the most excuses from at the Indian store. But the American devotees who fail to control their senses, we don't even see them. We don't see them out at the Indian store or Harinam, or we don't know what they're doing in a cave somewhere. Uh, Parameshwar Prabhu used to speak about controlling the senses. He would say that um, better that we just engage in book distribution and keep going on with our program. He said, otherwise, what else are you gonna do? Just let some two-legged thing walk up to you and take you off to its cave somewhere. So they're off in some cave somewhere. We don't even see them. So we should control the senses and engage them in Krishna consciousness, whether it's studying, taking prasadam, associating with devotees, so many different services there are. And then what happens? Just by trying to engage in Krishna service, Krishna appreciates it like anything. That's one of his qualities in the nectar of devotion, is that he's got so much gratitude. I don't know what the exact word for it was. It wasn't gracious, but yeah, the point is that he's very grateful. I think that was the word. He's very grateful. Just like if, you know, you give some gift to a friend and you don't know if they're gonna like it at all. I wonder if he's gonna like this thing. You know, I went out to get it. I don't know if he's into it or whatever. Then you give it to the friend, and it might even be, maybe it's just a small gift, something like maybe you didn't even put that much time into it. It's some small gift, and you give it to your friend, and then he's, wow, really, this you got me. This is exactly what I can't believe you got me this. I've been wanting this thing for wow, amazing. So like that, he's really grateful. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. So if we're constantly engaged in Krishna service, then he makes the path very clear. He shows us actually how we can engage in his service more, how that service can actually come to fruition, what we can do. So by trying to engage in Krishna's service, and there the point in the word there is in that verse, Priti Purvakam, in loving ecstasy. So there's supposed to be, he's saying in there's some love there. So the devotee, they're not acting out of a sense of false prestige or wanting some name and fame or whatever it is, some material motive. It's Anyabilashita Shunyam Jnana Karma Jnanavritam Anukul Krishnanu Shilanam Bhaktir Uttama. It's anukul, it's according to Krishna's desires, it's favorable to Krishna, and it's devoid of all these other things. It's not some fruit of activity or some speculated thing like Srila Prabhupada says distribute his books, but because I'm so intelligent, I know that the real meaning of that is to stop all book distribution and just chant the holy name and have really cool kirtans, because that's my speculation. Not like that, but actually to engage in Krishna consciousness as it's been given, in the Shastra, by the previous acharyas, by the spiritual master. It's free of any sort of impersonalism or any of this. So if one is just engaging in devotional service according to Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, and they're actually trying to please their Guru and the spiritual master, like that verse earlier, that Yasya Deve Prabhaktir verse, they're trying to please the spiritual master and trying to please Krishna, then Krishna, he helps them out. He says, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Buddhi Yogam, which is defined as real intelligence. He gives them real intelligence. So people might have some intelligence right now, like a scientist looks like they have a lot of intelligence. A doctor looks like they have a lot of intelligence. Famous person, rich person, they look like they have a lot of intelligence. But it's not buddhi yogam. It's not real intelligence, actually. It's the intelligence of animals. Or Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that it's maya pahrita jnana. Their intelligence is stolen by illusion, stolen by maya, or stolen by material nature. They might look so intelligent, but what's that intelligence? For some time, for a few years, they have some money, and they don't really know how to spend it well because they're using it on stuff that's breaking down and causing them, they get really expensive things, and then they're in a ton more anxiety about how to keep them, and they have to buy insurance for these things, whether it's a car or a fancy computer, fancy house, camera, motorcycle, boat, yacht, whatever it is, certain clothings, watches. Uh, Spend so much money on so many different things to make themselves happy, but then they're in more anxiety, and then they have all that money, so they have to be in even more anxiety about how to keep it. And then if they have a lot of money, they have to be in a lot of anxiety about just how to stay alive because people will try to kill them to steal it or kidnap them and all of these things. So this is the intelligence of the materialist. It might look smart, but even just for basic things, it's not very smart actually. They're not getting any happier from it. Or they might be like a good guy doing some philanthropic thing. But at the end of the day, if they're not engaged in Krishna service, what is all this so-called intelligence? It's just getting them another material body. Whether it might be a pretty well-off material body, which is definitely not the case in today's day and age because people are doing so many sinful activities. So it means they're going to be an animal or a person in hell or something lower than that. So their intelligence is stolen. They had so much intelligence, but then they used it on just how to enjoy the body, and in this way they became a dog or went to hell again. So their intelligence is stolen. But for those who try to engage in Krishna's service, they become purified. They purify their senses by plunging their senses into the ocean of love of Godhead. They're diving into the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. They're swimming in the ocean of love of God by engaging their senses all the time in Krishna's service. Krishna, he gives them real intelligence, and that intelligence is, how to please the spiritual master, how to serve the devotees, how to go back, how to not offend devotees, how to go back to Godhead, all of these things. So it's a good bargain. More or less, if the devotee tries to control their senses and engage in Krishna's service, they've got so much help coming from Krishna, the spiritual master, other devotees, and that help is pushing them in the right direction. Just like we were talking the other day, that I know philosophically for a fact, or just practically, whatever, for a fact, I can't be happy in the material world. We just know if we're reading Prabhupada's books or just hear from a devotee for a little bit, or even maybe karmis can figure this out too. The material world is not going to make you happy. You can't be happy here. Even karmis sometimes figure that out. They say, yeah, well, I like to take the happiness with the sadness. You got to roll with the punches, and that's just how it. So they get some idea of it. But so we can know for a fact, the material world is not going to make me happy, no matter what I do. It's really not going to happen. If I become famous guy, rich guy, big guy, small guy, whatever guy, there's never a situation where I'll be in the material world and I'll be satisfied. Impossible. So that's not going to work. Trying for that's not going to be fruitful. But one thing I can try for is to please the spiritual master. That almost seems impossible. That almost seems like it's not going to happen. But there is a chance for that, actually. There's a chance that's a type of success that is actually real, like is actually tangible, like that might actually happen. So all the other kinds of success, they're not going to happen. Be happy in the material world, or be famous, or be rich, whatever. All those things. The whole idea is be happy in the material world with all these different aspirations and types of success. But they're imaginary. They're not going to happen. So all these things, they don't work. But there is a chance to actually please Krishna's devotee. And Krishna explains how to do that. He gives us help on how to do that. And it is possible. So then, why not try for that? Whatever like material desires, material motives I have, going for them in a big way, or like subtly trying to go for them, at the end of the day, it's a waste of time because it's not going to happen in any way, shape, or form. It's just like some imaginary thing. But there is a chance that we might please Krishna's devotee if we try for that. So seems like a good deal. Yeah. And so the four Kumaras met the Supreme Personality of Godhead and became pure devotees. And that's fired up. Srimad Bhagavatam. Oh, is there any questions or is there any comments or questions?
Time for some sweet bread.
Yeah, when breakfast is on the line, like it's really easy to get fired up.
So one thing I was just saying that there's a verse in the I think that comes with Vamana Devi Yadracha Lava Santushto Tejo Viprasya Vardate Tat Prashamyati Ashantoshad Abhasevasu Shukshanehi. A Brahmana who is satisfied with whatever is providentially obtained is increasingly enlightened with spiritual power. But the spiritual potency of a dissatisfied Brahmana decreases as fire diminishes in the potency when water is sprinkled upon it. We're just speaking about how karmis are frustrated or happiness in the material world is just not there. And it just can one thing I keep like thinking about in devotional service is sometimes even within devotional service we look forward to something or enjoying something. And often sometimes we act out of rash in order to either because we can't have enjoyment in that moment or we looking forward to that enjoyment. And it actually causes us so much stress and anxiety. It's like sometimes we're given a service and we don't really like to do it. But if you actually really think about it, like just kind of philosophically a little bit, you realize that, hang on a sec, I'm just like not into doing this because it's like I don't feel happy doing it because it doesn't gratify my senses or my mind. But then if you go, wait, but this is my position, this is what I'm meant to do, and look at it from that perspective, then it doesn't feel frustrating sometimes. Sometimes, there's like certain things that we just don't like to do, just our nature just doesn't like to do. And then we don't want to do it. But if you think about it a little bit, it's like, oh, okay, I'm meant to do this. This is a part of my duty, but I don't want to do it. No, but I should do it and should understand why I should do it. And to remain satisfied in it, not become frustrated in it, because and then it's just an exhibition of lust. Because that same thing, if one actually thinks about it and transforms his consciousness, it becomes love for Krishna. But if he becomes frustrated, then it's just an exhibition of his lust. So sometimes I think about that in performing different services that, why do I have to do this? Like, man, I should be going out on books or preaching or being on Harinam or doing something else. Like it really like pushes you to become more Krishna conscious in those situations in which you're given a task and whether you like it or not, you have to do it. So better you learn to like it because it's favorable to Krishna consciousness and it's a part of the process. And remain satisfied because the karmis, they're just trying to get more. Like you're saying, the more money you have, the more dissatisfied you are, the more miserable you are. But a Brahmana, he doesn't take anything. Why? Because he understands that. Said, oh, no, you know what? By providence, Krishna will provide me everything. It will just come. That's all. Why are you worried? No. Are you worried about your security in this? No. Why? Because Krishna will provide, and if I'm going to suffer, I'll suffer. So what? Sometimes we're so adamant, want to avoid suffering so much in this world. Like we go out of our way to try to avoid suffering. But if one realizes actually my karma is that not that one tries to cause suffering upon himself. Obviously, there's guidelines given by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Don't eat too much, don't sleep too little, don't eat too little, don't sleep too little, such and such. So one has to follow that, but at the same time, one doesn't try to avoid suffering, go out of his way to do it because it's going to come anyways. And similarly, happiness comes. But if one is just satisfied, he's always like and absorbed in Krishna consciousness, he's always happy. So if one comes to that realization that, this is a part of my duty. Yeah, I don't like this. Yeah, I might not feel like ecstatic doing this right now, but it's just a part of the process, and I should be satisfied. This is a Krishna service. Because like I've said this before, if you see other devotees, there's certain devotees that just love doing that service and they're just enthusiastic about it. But we're not so enthusiastic about it. So you got to understand, well, that is service and that service to Krishna. And if I just surrender and push myself a little more, I can understand, okay, this is real devotional service. By just a touch of devotional service, one becomes enlivened. So it's just something to consider. It's hard to do. It's not that I'm doing it, but it's something I've always thought about when I'm having to do some service that is, could say, frustrating or difficult, or it just causes us anxiety sometimes to do certain services. Like I can't. It's like it's just not my nature and not able to do it. But But if we kind of just like put our mind to it and put aside our sense gratification, we'll experience real happiness actually within those times when we're like almost repulsed to do it, but because of our duty, we do it, and we do it with love and faith for Krishna, and then we'll experience real happiness, and then we'll find, oh, this is what devotional service is about.
It's fired up.
Any question?
Well, it was
Any
comment.
yeah, Prabhu?
I thought you were gonna say this,
Go
but
ahead.
we were talking maybe it was about a week ago now. Chandan Chandan Acharya Prabhu was sharing that he got this really nice practical piece of advice. I think it was a Mataji who told you.
Oh, yeah.
Just like
Prabhupada disciple, she takes care of Prabhupada in LA.
Oh
What's her
yeah.
name?
I don't know her
She's
name.
not a real problem. Is the black lady?
Huh?
Black lady?
Yeah, Mataji, yeah.
Not a real Prabhupada disciple.
Are you sure?
She's a Ridvik. Yeah, she said she knows in her heart from her dreams that Prabhupada's a guru.
Anyways,
that's
But
because Guru Maharaj was
she
there
accepts Prabhupada.
Guru Maharaj was there when she said that.
Yeah, I remember because
I don't.
she gave when I was in LA, she
But
gave
she
us like
said
a,
the same.
yeah, I remember she told us that in Guru. Anyways, I don't remember exactly what Guru Maharaj said on that, but I don't know if I would go as far to say that
What was her advice you were saying?
basically she told Chandan Acharya Prabhu was like, if you want to stay brahmachari, like don't have any expectations, more or less. That was the gist of it, right?
It's like don't expect anything and stay humble.
And I was gonna say, like, I know I fall into that even like during the marathon, for example. Like I was thinking, like, man, like I just can't wait to get to like Grootly and get settled down, and then I'm just gonna have time to read and learn Mridanga and do this, that, the other. But like, actually, you find like
Too
you're
many
more.
expectations. I remember you used to tell me that.
Like it like, and I caught myself. I'm like, this is probably not going to be the case. And two, I'm like, I'm generally more likely to fall into my like, and like we'll see that like there's I don't remember who was telling me this. Maybe it was Charna or somebody. I don't remember who was saying, but like, they'll like you'll go hard in devotional service for like a certain amount of time, and then afterwards it's like that work hard, play hard mentality. It's like you think that now I deserve, like I've achieved some rest,
Yeah.
and it's like actually big Maya, because like we think like especially in this Western culture, it's like you work hard and then you like deserve to enjoy as a result.
Enjoy.
Yeah,
Work hard and then dive into the mode of
yeah,
ignorance.
it's like you end up like it's like
Enjoy.
I'm thinking that I'm gonna have time to just like be super Krishna conscious or this or the other, but it's like you're actually just gonna fall into Maya actually, because you're not able to recognize that like being engaged, that is like Krishna consciousness. Like, that's the whole point actually. So anyway, that's what I was thinking about.
There's a Vishnujan Maharaj says that if you wanted to, people come and say, yeah, I really want to do that, but like this, and he would often say to them that if you really wanted to be doing it, you would be doing it, not saying that you want to be doing it. And it's like, then you're just nonsense. That's all. I really want to do it, but so it's like sometimes it's like, yeah, I can't wait to get a break. I can be Krishna conscious. Like, well, what about right now? Let's just do it now. What's the problem? So, why is it that you're limiting it to some condition and in some circumstance? Then that actually is a bigger problem. So it's nice that, in our circumstances, when we're forced to be Krishna conscious, and then when we lose that opportunity for, sometimes we're doing so much service and it's like, oh my God, this is too much. And then when we lose that opportunity for service, we're like, I wish I had some service right now. This is like, I need something to engage in Krishna service in. So it's not, especially when we look back in our life, or just like even now, you could look back a few years for those who've been distributing books for some time, and it's just ecstatic. We actually chanted yesterday this Gaura Chandrika Kirtan, Jai Jai
Oh wow.
Nityananda Dvaita Gauranga. We actually chanted that. It actually worked out.
Wow.
With some
Where did you
with
find
some
the words for it written down?
Well, let's just search that. Jai Jai Nityananda Jai Shri Advaita.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just, if you just search the lyrics of the song, it will come up on KK songs.
Hmm.
And I was thinking, mainly anytime I hear that song, all I think about is, I don't think Abhimanyu Sutta Prabhu will remember. We were working what is that place? The Dogwood. We were working Dogwood, and then we tied with 51.
I remember that.
Each,
I remember
and
that.
then we were driving back in Matsya's Honda. and we were blasting that kirtan.
Yeah.
And just like really,
That was
that's like
exciting. That was
when I
blissful.
remember fonts and I remember book distribution, that's all I remember. Just like blasting that kirtan after book distribution, just being in ecstasy.
Yeah, that was ecstatic. I remember
And
that.
just so many things, and you can just like look back at those really like long days, and it's just nice. It's like wow, like and and we look forward for so many more to come. So it's not like it shouldn't be like the karmis that after we work really hard in Krishna consciousness and we're like frustrated, then there's some problem. If you're
Yeah.
frustrated after doing lots of service and you're like mental and you're like all over the place, you're just doing something wrong. Like I was talking to Charu about that. This Tivrena Bhakti Yoga and some people intense devotional service. They think just throw your body out, don't sleep, just go out as you can, and that's intense devotion service. That's not intense devotion service. That's just stupidity.
Yeah.
Is you're trying, but it's just more. Sometimes it can be just exhibition of our lust also. Real intensity is to be able to remember Krishna all the time. That means that the lust is not there. That means we don't become frustrated on the spiritual platform. That first kind of frustration isn't there where you see that sometimes people start to lash out against devotees and like have like a whole mental breakdown and like, bro, what's going on, like
Have a good
what
day.
happened? It's like I'm just like being working so hard, I'm fried out. I'm like, whoa, it's like it shouldn't, all right, like take a break. You need to take a break. You need to take a break. But it shouldn't be like that. Generally, one should feel jolly, and then one should reflect upon that and go, okay, maybe it's just my lust that's coming out. It's not like my devotion, it's not actually devotional service. I'm pushing myself way too hard, and it's more lust than love for Krishna. So, but those long days, I mean, all those days on book distribution of going out and driving and staying up late and going to sleep, or bhakta program, dealing with bhaktas and all that is really ecstatic. It's really, really, it was hard and it was really rough, but it's like, it was very, very, very ecstatic.
Yeah, even when you're like completely down and out in your like spiritual life, even when you're like at like we could be at rock bottom, but devotional service is so blissful. Still, like there's still bliss. Like it's really far out actually. Like you could be completely down and out, but you're still receiving some bliss. I mean, it was funny you were saying if you're like not happy, then you're doing something wrong because
Yeah.
because the material is like a perverted reflection of that. Because for like materialists, like sense gratification is like their devotional service. Like we were just talking about how like seriously, for them, that's like the solution to everything. We were talking about antidepressants, how everybody's on it, and we were saying how like someone's like, like oh, like you're not like they'll ask you questions like before you like they describe you antidepressants. They're like you're going out with your friends, you're drinking, you're smoking, you're eating a lot, and you're still not happy. Oh, then you're doing something wrong here. Take this like antidepressant Prozac, and then this if you're doing all these activities, you're not happy like me, because we're all happy, we're doing it, and you're doing it, and you're not happy. Then there's something wrong. But and so they give them all this antidepressants, which is like really crazy because they're not getting rid of it actually doesn't make them happy. But in devotional service, it is actually like that.
Antidepressant is also on the
Yeah,
antidepressant.
that's like crazy, bro.
Straight up. It was always like, oh, you're like doing something wrong. Like you're not happy. Everyone else is happy. Like you're like, what are you doing? Like just
Do
like
some more devotional
do some more
service.
devotional service. But in that case, it's actually true. So it's really interesting how that kind of that flips, but it actually works. And originally, when someone tells you that, especially when you're new Christian conscious, you don't even want to listen to it. There's like,
I just get fed up
Yeah,
with that. It's just like so. I would get like more disturbed. It's like I'm like I'm doing this. It's not working. It's like got to keep on doing it. Like
you're not doing anything. You're not trying hard enough. Just chant better rounds. Like clean the toilet with more love. And you're like, okay. Charlie can resonate with this for sure.
it's
But it's
one thing
true.
I always think is that Karmis just don't have like a philosophical mindset at all towards life. And we forget that because that's just our life. But like I never realized as a karmi, I never thought about anything at all. I just like never thought anything, never quite. I was like, yeah, all right, eat now, yeah, sure. Eat a half hour later, yeah, no problem. And
It's
then
molded out.
It's like some people say some stupid stuff. Okay, yeah, whatever. Okay, yeah, this is the way to enjoy life, and you just never think. Actually, there's just like there's not much ability to kind of just yeah. There's just so much. You're just so dulled out by material existence, by eating all the karmic grains and all the nonsense, seeing all the nonsense, just being on the internet all day. You can't just
Modern
So
health
sad.
society.
You're not happy. Go out. Try going to the movies with your friends. Enjoy. People, friends. Keep going.
We were talking the other day about um because we were saying like cooking, like if you're like don't have friends or like family to do it for, it's just like actually like, really miserable. But then you also have like some people who just like really get into cooking, like love yourself, just take yourself out on a date. It's
Self-care.
like
Was that
really
you? That was you.
delusional
It's like
nonsense.
I used to ask that question in the on the
Yeah.
Sunday feast in Ponce. I don't know if you were there for that. I was like, yeah, it's kind of weird if you just take yourself out to the movies and give yourself a rose and like and and if you wrap yourself a gift and you open it, it's kind of weird. And one Matthew goes, I don't think it's weird. I do it. All right. It's like it's love yourself. I was like, yeah, go good luck to you. Like
You
one
can't
thing.
love others until you love yourself. How can you love others when you don't love yourself?
In Vedic culture, you're actually around other people, so you don't need to like wrap yourself a gift and all that. You can like get someone else a gift.
it's so sad. Dude. It's so damn sad.
So if you're ever feeling down, Charu, just take some Prozac, and you'll be happy.
Yeah. All right.
Bye bye with Tom Key
Shut
Guy.
up!